every great restaurant at one point of time was just a risk that the person took. And it goes to a lot of other businesses as well, not just restaurants. So take that plunge, take that risk sometimes. Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes you'll fail, but that's it. At least you will never regret that there was an opportunity, but you never took it. For me, it was very easy to build a restaurant in Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, any city. And I know like who would have done fairly well. But this was altogether something which I was like, I have my knees right now. I have my back intact. I can take some risk. I won't be on the road. That's fine. I knew that. And that's it. And those three things were very important, that physically right now I'm able to walk. I can take some kind of a financial risk. I won't be on the road. I can jump this right now and jump it. Just don't overthink it.
Hi, and welcome to Big Food Energy, a podcast that spotlights some of the most exciting food businesses in India and around the world. Today, we're speaking with Prateek Sadhu, the chef entrepreneur behind India's most ambitious destination dining project, Naar. Set in a village in Himachal Pradesh, Naar opened its doors to the public late last year. Meaning fire in Kashmiri, which is Prateek's mother tongue, Naar refers not only to the grill-centric menu featuring Himalayan-forward cuisine, but more importantly to the flame burning inside the chef to build a sophisticated fine dining restaurant away from the comforts of a big city. Prateek is also the former head chef at Masque, the best restaurant in India as per Asia's 50 best restaurants this year. He quit at the height of his success to start his own restaurant and chase a crazy dream. And today we're talking to him about the realities of living that dream. Hi Prateek, welcome to Big Food Energy. How's it going?
It's going great. We're in the middle of spring and middle of a lot of flowers, so I can't complain, honestly. Different life in mountains. I'm still getting used to it.
Awesome. If you could start, Prateek, by just explaining what Naar is for people who don't really have much context.
Naar is a restaurant which is in middle of nowhere. I keep saying this. It's in a small village. It's very near to Kasauli. It's like a small hill station, but we're 40 minutes away from Kasauli. It's a 16-seater restaurant. Naar literally means fire in Kashmir, but I keep saying it's not the fire that we cook on, it's the fire within ourselves, which really drove us to do something which, I mean, for me also was unthinkable when I really started thinking about it. We're a very small restaurant. It's literally my home. And the way we built it, the way we created the restaurant in terms of architecture, design, everything was built around the fact that we're not building a restaurant, we're building a home. And it has 5 different small, I keep saying 5 different Lego blocks, and we're tucked inside this pine forest. And the way the experience also runs is that you start from one room, move to another room, and then eventually end up in the same room where you started. So nutshell, that's Naar.
Lovely. Okay. And it's obviously we've been talking about Naar for a long time, but it has been a few months since you actually launched the restaurant. How has it been? Has it been crazy? You're like in the middle of nowhere. I'm sure it's very different from running a restaurant in a packed city like Bombay.
It is. To start with, I started thinking about this when I was actually going to open a restaurant in Delhi. I was thinking about a restaurant in Delhi, but and one thing which I was very clear on, that I wanted to build a restaurant. I didn't want to take any existing space, and that was my criteria in Delhi as well. So I figured a land was around 3 acres of land, where the restaurant was going to build. There would have been a farm, etc., etc. But that got shelved, and honestly, I was taking a flight from Chandigarh to Mumbai, and I had to make a decision because I know the Delhi project was getting shelved because of some licensing issues, and I had to make a decision. And I had seen the space where Naar is right now, and honestly, I just spoken to a few friends, and they just said, "Dude, don't do it." He said, "This is a great time. What you've done, create you have a credibility in the market, and why don't you build a restaurant in a city where you can use it and think about a business. At the end of the day, it's your money also, right? So it is just not about certain dream, which I mean, I kept saying I wanted a restaurant in mountains, but to think about it, there was no reference point within this country, right? And at the end of the day, it is a business, and everybody said, do it, but first open a restaurant in a city and then eventually move into hills and do something really small. That would be of a dream restaurant, but this is commercial, and understand that.
Right.
Don't be naive, right? Everybody, and I think everybody who said that meant well for me,
Of course. Yeah.
and they were really sort of looking out and said, just don't, because at the end of the day, commercials are important. You're running a business, you need to make money, you need to make sure, like, people who are there supporting you, you're supporting them back. So anyways, so I was saying, this flight I had 2.5 hours to kill, so this was just playing in my mind, and I had to make a decision ASAP because I wanted to get things sorted. And by the time I landed in Bombay, I had already made up my mind that I want to jump this. So I landed. I have 3 partners in the business, friends slash partners slash investors, and I called them up and said, "Look, I've made a decision. This is what I'm going to do, and it's okay. I don't want to overthink it right now. This is what I want to do. I will do it, and I'm not going to overthink it. Right? We'll figure out." But this is the time when there's a choice that if you want to pull out right now, at the end of the day, it's everyone's money, and I respect that. And if you want to pull out now, please do it. But this is going to happen. And yeah, all three said, okay, fine. If you're jumping, we'll also jump. It's okay. It's your money as well. So yeah, and that's how I figured let's do it. But and the craziness started right after we started building. We had like flash floods, heavy rains during the time I started building Naar. So the work had to be stopped. And yeah, November 24th, we opened doors fully to the public last year. And yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I'll tell you why it's crazy. It's crazy because I said there was no reference point. It's crazy because you are dealing with everything while you're building the restaurant. I feel like as an entrepreneur, especially in a remote area, you're literally dealing with people who will get your bricks up the mountains. You're dealing with people who will get logistics up. You're dealing with people where they won't even show up. So building that was like, it was literally craziness. I had multiple panic attacks during that time. But after, there's a sense of satisfaction, honestly, when you see finally that it's built.
Of course.
You take a step back. There's a small place in front of Naar called, we call it N Spot, where we gather the entire team every single day. We talk about, it's like a small briefing space. We talk about the day. We talk about everything. We do a small sort of exercise and we start the day. I was standing there and I was looking at the entire sort of structure. And as I said, there's a sense of satisfaction, relief when you see that.
Amazing. And through your career, Prateek, in India, you've always gone back to this the idea of the mountains. You love traipsing across the Himalayas wearing shorts, as we've seen on your social media feed.
I love it.
You love the cold. So, what is it about the mountains that excites you?
See, everybody has their own, I feel, safe space, and I feel that's what mountain does. I'm very much at home. That's the feeling that I get. And also, I mean, I'm from Kashmir. I grew up in Kashmir, looking at mountains. So for mountains is always a home, and I keep saying this is sort of a homecoming for me. But beyond that, all the fanciness and all the beautiful pictures that we see. Understand that there's a way of life in mountains, how people live in mountains. It's just not Kashmir, the entire Himalayan belt, which ranges from north to northeast. There's a way of life, and we talk about nose to tail. We talk about sustainability. We talk about preservation, everything.
Yeah.
I feel living in mountains is a living example of all those things.
Mm-hmm.
We see it on day-to-day basis, and I said it's a way of life. So yeah, so I think that is one thing. As a chef, we always talk about these things. I've spoken about all these things, but I've spoken and done things while sitting in a city. Right, here was a chance. Right, here was a chance where I could do that, being in mountains, at the source. They're at my roots. Yeah, so, and I don't think a lot of people get those chances. And I feel very thankful and grateful that I had an opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And I did that.
So Prateek, of course, you were talking about what you grew up eating, but how has that sort of informed what you're doing at Naar right now? Has it in any way? I'd love to understand that.
No, actually, yes. And it's just not now, for the last 1 decade. So I moved back from New York. I was cooking at a very successful restaurant there. Um, so I moved back in around 2013. And while my experience with some great chefs and great kitchen that I worked with and in, I came back with a very strong idea of that. While the world is celebrating, this is like almost 12, 13 years back. Uh, while the world is, celebrating the idea of local, while the world is celebrating the idea of, very strong regionality, very strong, regional personality of a cuisine. I said, in India, at that point of time, we were not talking about it. We were not
Yeah.
talking about the regionality of Indian food, or the diversity of Indian food. So I wanted to build something which celebrates India for not just of its traditional food, which celebrates India for its abundance of ingredients. Um, so yeah, so I think when I came back, my couple of trips were to Kashmir, to Uttarakhand, to even Himachal also. And I think the more I traveled, the more I understood that, like, it's a gold mine. Like, you talk about ingredients. It is comparable to any ingredient that we'd always talk about. In Europe or America, you have these great ingredients. You can compare that, and it's a gold mine. We're not talking about it. Let's do something. So yeah, so what I'm doing at Nard is a combination of, like, last decade of my work within, especially this region. Of course, I traveled the lengths and breadths of India, south, west, east. But I think mountains was always something which was comfort, which was home. We spoke about what mountains means to me. So my lot of trips were to Uttarakhand, Kashmir, Himachal, parts in northeast as well, in Meghalaya and Arunachal. And I kept, it was like, going back to a classroom, and just suddenly you're slapped with, like, so many things that as a chef you're unable to process, and you're thinking, okay, like, how can we sort of put this on a plate? And it's difficult, and it's still difficult. And I mean, it's a very small effort that we are trying to do at Nar. Honestly, it's a very small restaurant, but there's so much detail. There is so much, when you understand the culture, at least, and right now I'm only talking about the Himalayan belt. When you understand the diversity of the culture and the diversity within those cultures as well, you talk about Arunachal, there's tribe, there's an X tribe, Y tribe, but the food cultures are completely different. The customs are completely different. And of course, when I started traveling, and I said, like, this is like 10 years of, like, distilling things on the plate. It is, we're really trying to celebrate that culture and people via food. So I'll have influences of Kashmir, I'll have influences from northeast, I'll have influences from Uttarakhand. And of course, while we're trying to celebrate those flavors, we're also trying to put the ingredients which maybe we've spoken about, maybe we don't know about, but we're putting those things in the plate on the plate. I read somewhere forgotten foods, and I think somebody wrote about Prateek doing forgot, but it is not forgotten food. There's nothing there's
Mhm.
nothing forgotten here. We just don't know about it, right? I didn't know 10,000 things about when I traveled to Kerala or a part in Tamil Nadu. For me, that was a discovery, but that was never forgotten. It's a
Mhm.
similar case here. We talk about berries, we talk about the wild asparagus that is grown here, all the wild strawberries that are grown here. There was always it was always there as a part of the culture within the Himalayan belt, and that is what we're trying to showcase, and those become our mediums to create new things. But I feel my inherent belief is that there's nothing forgotten. It's just that we don't know. I grew up in a certain part in India. I only got to know about so many different things when I started traveling. When I went to Gujarat or Tamil Nadu or somewhere else, I started
Mhm.
discovering many things. But that didn't mean that it was forgotten. Likewise, in the entire Himalayan belt, we have a huge culture of eating berries, or in a part we eating an animal called mithun, right? But it's not forgotten. It's just that we don't know, right? So there's a
Mhm.
difference between forgotten foods, and when we talk about forgotten foods and things that we don't know.
Yeah. So really, when we say forgotten, I guess it's, urban
I
India
see.
that has forgotten it, right? Like, but it's still very much a part
Yes,
of diets across India.
it is a part of their food culture. So
Yeah.
just to give you an example, right now is a season of berries which are called hisalu,
Hmm.
right? They're these beautiful Himalayan golden raspberries. They're just damn tasty. Right now, it starts with hisalu, like in this part, and coming back to, or maybe I'm just pre-answering a lot of things, but we're in the fruit bowl of India.
Hmm.
You know, people. I have had questions like, "Oh my God, like you're running a restaurant, but how does logistics work? Ingredients must be a problem." No, not at all. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
I think we're blessed with ingredients. We are blessed with ingredients. The part of Himachal that we are in, right? We have Solan, which is an hour away. Solan is the mushroom capital of India. They're like agriculture scientists just researching on mushrooms. And
Wow.
when you talk to them, they just blow your mind. Like it's amazing, right? These beautiful lines means this guy has been researching for like now at least a decade.
Hmm.
But anyways, Solan is the mushroom capital. We are in the fruit bowl of India. So Kashmir, Himachal, Uttarakhand. So it's literally like a bowl shape,
Hmm.
right? And and this is my favorite time because it starts with hisalu, then plums, then apricots. So like this is the stone fruit time, and I think the best stone fruits are in this region. This bowl supplies to entire India mostly peaches, plums, apricots, cherries, um, and yeah, hisalu to chalo aata hi nahi, it's just consumed here. So yeah, so my favorite
Wow.
time.
Incredible. Yeah, I mean, it's clearly spring in the mountains. I can hear the birds chirping through through your
Yes. Yeah.
mic,
There's
which
no dust
is
storm.
there's no dust storm. It's quite different from the loud honks and horns of Bombay. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
I do
mean,
miss
so
it sometimes, I have to admit.
just you really, we can swap anytime you want. But
Yeah.
okay, so Pratik, you were talking about how most people think it's difficult and it's hard to run a restaurant in the mountains. Sure, while ingredients might not be that much of an issue, I'm sure there are lots of other logistical challenges that you faced. Could you tell me a little bit about that? Because I remember when I came to Naar, I wrote the piece for 50 Best. I think I said it's like a chef's wildest dream, running
Mm.
this incredible restaurant with in the foothills of the Himalayas. Uh, but I'm sure there have been some nightmares as well. Could you could you tell me a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, like many nightmares. And it's just a challenge to run a restaurant, period, anywhere in the world.
Hmm.
Like you'll always have issues, you'll always have those days. But in mountains, I think you always have to pre-plan a lot of things. We get our supply from like various sources, and while while we can get the best possible plum or best possible peach here, just to get it here is a challenge. You're in mountains, so for example, we are already planning ki Kinnaur se will get apples during August time. Right now, from a certain region from up like near Kangra, we're getting these peaches and plums. While if I was running a restaurant in any city, Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, I would be doing these on phone calls. Ki, okay, tomorrow I need like these much plums and peaches. Here, like that, there's a team of like at least 2 to 3 people who are just doing logistic work. And when I say logistic work, ki bus mein baithega wo, it will be so look at the coordination. So the guy will put that in a bus. The bus driver will drop it in a petrol pump. So we'll coordinate. We have to coordinate with the guy from the petrol pump, and then from petrol pump it'll go in a taxi, like a shared taxi, and from there it'll get dropped to like near Dharampur. So the other guy will like get it. Uske baad then we have to send our driver. So it's like you have to like
Whole
plan
production.
for a lot of. It's a production full, right? Because and sometimes like bus guy will be. There have been instances the bus guy forgot and he just like reached Delhi. And then from Delhi, the bus is coming back, and then we have to like get those apples or fruits. So I have those challenges. Like it'll show up, but you have to, like
You don't
there
know
are
when.
5 people for that. Like give you a small example. Our cheese comes literally. It's 2 hours from here. Like 2 hours. Like the production happens 2 hours. Just to coordinate that, it's a week. So we plan like 10-15 days in advance. Ki cheese aayega, okay, this guy will like take it, he will receive it, like somebody is coordinating with him on phone, he will drop at his like some like random kiryana shop, and then the guy will go and pick it up. So I have these challenges, and sometimes things don't show up, or sometimes things just go late. So these kind of challenges are just constant. It's not something new, it's constant. So you have to be ready for that, especially when you're in. I'm literally remote.
Absolutely.
Like there's no Amazon or Swiggy, by the way, or
Yeah,
Instamart.
I mean, just as you were saying that, you were like, it's 2 hours away. In Bombay, you wouldn't think twice, right? You will just like fast it and not think about it, and then 2 hours later, whatever you want is with you.
And sometimes
It's
people don't
crazy.
understand. I've had these conversations, like with a friend. He said, "I said, yeah, like this didn't come." He said, "Why don't you dunzo it?" I said, I don't. Okay, let me put a perspective here. That where we are.
There's no dunzo in the
So it's
Himalayas,
no, like no.
which is
So
probably a very good thing.
all our packages come to a certain place in Chandigarh. All our Amazon deliveries. So the guy will go, or the car will go, and you'll see these like boxes of Amazon, like 50 boxes of Amazon, like filled in the car. So yeah, so we all order in Chandigarh, and that's how it works. So
Wow.
the
Okay.
reality.
Yeah, that's I'm sure it's pretty crazy. You're living and working in the middle of nowhere with your team, and I know that the team also lives together, in housing. So how does that dynamic sort of play into the restaurant? I'm sure it's great because people become very close, but I'm sure that the dynamic of just living together and working together can be pretty crazy sometimes.
Yeah, it is. It is crazy. You do experience that, but there's. I feel like there's more positive than negative to it, because this sense of family atmosphere, this sense of looking out for each other, the sense of like being there for each other, because like what the other person's going through. Sometimes it is challenging in mountains. We have very harsh winters here, and most of the team is from, or rather most of the team is from Bombay, Bangalore, Delhi, Goa, right? And they're not used to these harsh winters, and now we're suddenly into spring and summer. So everybody lives together, so which is great. But also sometimes like it can be challenging because you're away from home.
Yeah.
And a lot of things do play. But I think, as I said, like there's a lot of positives to it as well, because once you're working together, you become close, and that shows in the work as well.
Okay, so you were talking about how how it's a time commitment to even get to Nar. So for for people who aren't familiar, to get to Nar, you'd have to take a flight to Chandigarh and then drive an hour and a half to Darba, which is
Of 2 hours to the restaurant. And I mean, I recently realized like Chandigarh is like heavily connected to all major cities because we've had guests who flew in directly from Chennai. I was like, really? They flew in from Chennai because there's a
to
direct flight. I
Chandigarh.
had no
Wow,
idea.
amazing!
So they flew in the morning. They had dinner, they had a blast, and next morning they were out.
Wow,
So they just spent like not even a full weekend. So they came on Saturday, had a great Saturday night, and left on Sunday. So yeah, great connectivity, and direct flights to Dubai as well now.
nice.
Yeah.
So anyone listening from Dubai can hop over to Nar
So
for a meal.
it's a 4 hour flight to Dubai, three and a half, three
Three
and
and a
a half
half
flight from
from
Dubai, to
Chandigarh.
Chandigarh, and then so from Dubai we are 5 hours away.
Wow. That's incredible. So, okay, it obviously still requires some amount of like planning and figuring out time, schedule, booking a car, booking a taxi to eventually get there, and then you have to stay obviously the night somewhere.
Yeah.
So this concept of destination dining is not a concept that's very popular in India. In fact, you're probably the first restaurant to be doing it at the level that you're doing it. Um, do you think that this model has potential to grow in India?
Oh, 100%. Giving October, I still remember October 1st or 2nd. This was when we're just getting ready because 8th October we release our reservations. Obviously, I think it's a human nature. You have those thoughts. I remember having a conversation with Kamlesh, and he said, "Okay, this is great. We built it. Team is just about to join." And he was like, "No, I was just talking about we need this, we need that." He's like, hold on, because, like, honestly, like, let's be really honest. Like, you think people will come? I said, yeah, I think people will come, this, that, I was giving my own reasons. I didn't think I was giving reasons to him. Actually, I might be giving reasons to myself because I was shit scared. Swear to God, I was scared as hell. It was just not about losing money. I think for me personally, there was a lot at stake. I felt that. I felt there's a lot at stake. And doing that, yes, I understand. Like it was risky. It was risky, and
Yeah.
yeah. So 8th October we released the reservations finally. After, as I said, I had multiple panic attacks, while building this, but there were on 8th October we had this like a big dose of oxygen, just not to me, to that team. When we released the reservation, I think we were swamped with literally around 350 or 400 emails.
That's
Sonakshi, who handles our reservations, I think she was getting calls like almost all night because people were calling from US, Singapore, UK, they just wanted to inquire, right? It's not they were like planning to book. They wanted to inquire. They were like, oh, we want to send our parents, we want to send this, we want to send that. And I think that gave us a lot of confidence. And honestly, when you're running a restaurant like this in the middle of nowhere, you're always looking out for silver lining. And I think in hospitality generally, like, a small ray of hope is just a big dose of oxygen. So yeah, and I think for me that was it. I was like, wow, like, yes, maybe we're doing something. But it all boils down to, at the end of the day, numbers. It all boils down to business.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm just thankful and grateful to God, and I'm pleasantly surprised with the way the response has been. That's number one. With the way financials has worked for us at Naar, the way people have flown down. We've had a guest from Saudi. Like, wow.
Amazing.
No, but we had that guest
Someone
from Saudi because,
from Saudi who
yeah.
Nar.
So that's how I figured there's a direct flight from Dubai. So we flew from Dubai.
That's
He said, I
amazing.
keep going to Bombay. There's a business in Bombay that I run. And obviously I knew about you, and we were looking what you're doing next. And we thought, okay, great. Let's fly from Dubai because there's a direct flight. And you know, I don't know how to express this, but you feel great.
Of course, yeah.
You feel like,
It's an
wow, like
incredible feat.
people are just flying around. And I that's why I talk about the responsibility aspect of it. You
Yeah,
feel so responsible.
yeah,
Like, understand that people are just flying down just to be here. Amount of responsibility that everyone has, it's yeah, it's a task, because you need to, every single day you need to be on your A game. You cannot have a B day, or you cannot have a bad day. We can't afford to have a bad day. So while obviously we're working on a lot of things, we have to work on ourselves as well. So it's especially here, because we need to get the same level of energy every single day. So that means there's a lot of work that needs to happen within us, to make sure like we're in the right frame of mind, positive, and just pumped every single day. Because those people who are coming, they don't care.
yeah.
They're coming with like
For
a
them,
lot
it's
of
like a
expectation. Oh my god, like something's gonna happen.
yeah. It's an amazing, new, unique, maybe once
And
in a
you
lifetime experience.
and yeah, and this just you shouldering that thought. I was like, we need to yeah, we need to score a goal. So as a team, we talk about this a lot,
Yeah,
and it's very important. So coming back to the old question, I'm connecting this dot where you said, how is it living together with a lot of teams?
yeah.
The day we are feeling low, down, we have those people to pick us up, and that's powerful.
Yeah. No,
And
that's
I've seen that,
incredible.
and I've seen that, and I've seen that here.
Yeah.
And I've seen that. We've had, instances where the other person's just feeling down because of multiple reasons. But there are 10 other people who are supporting. So it's like, okay, that's fine. We will take responsibilities. Let's do it. And we feed off each other's energy
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
lot.
I've seen that on on your personal social media as well, and on the Naar handle, where you do these morning exercises at end spot, and you try and get people's
Yeah.
energy up. Could you talk to me a little bit about that? About how do you just keep motivation levels up? Of course, living in the mountains is great, but it's also lonely, hard, difficult, challenging.
Yeah. You know, so one thing, and I think I've said it multiple times also, that our team briefings are not about, yes, there's a certain structure that who's coming is going, but it's also about like how we're feeling today, right? How can we get the energy levels up? And I think we started this concept of doing like a 5-minute exercise where there's some kind of a blood rush, energies are up, because you climb a mountain, by the time you reach like the restaurant, you're just like, "Ah, man, like I just need a glass of water." But we need to make sure like that energies levels are up, because in 1 hour, 2 hours, we will have guests. We open our doors and guests are there.
Okay, so obviously we've talked a lot about the challenges. I feel it takes for an industry to move forward is that one person to take that chance. And there have been a lot of eyes on you to be like, and it's of course come up in conversation where people are like, okay, how is Naar doing? How many people are coming into the restaurant? Um, you are in the middle of nowhere. How do you ensure that footfall keeps coming in? Is there a way to that you're sort of working? Are you trying to work with anyone else in a big city to help bring people down? How does that work?
We, at least in India, we don't have a PR. There's no marketing person. One thing which I have learned, and of course it's like all these 6 months have been like just learnings about running a business. But one thing which has really helped us is word of mouth. It has. It has. It has. And no doubt. I think one thing that I've learned in hospitality is word of mouth and your industry support. And I'm so grateful. I think this industry has supported this supported the idea of what we are trying to do, and just genuinely supported, what I was on the journey that I was on. And I think that makes a huge difference. And because I've had people who said, like ex chef was like, you have to go to Naar. It's like it's impossible. If you're in Delhi, you can't take a flight, man. Come on. And I think I'm just grateful to our industry that the kind of support that I've got from them, and it is critical and it is important. And number two is word of mouth. And of course, social media plays a very important role in a lot of
Sure.
things these days, which is, yeah, we're trying to do it in-house, sometimes we outsource. So we're also figuring, it's a very small team. Everybody has multiple roles to play, right? Um, our chef, like, our sous chef, Vishakha is basically, she's also a purchase manager slash sous chef slash lot of things. So yeah, so here like everybody has multiple roles to play as well. So it's a very small, tight team that we have. We started with 8 people. Now we are roughly around 17, and
Wow.
by next month we'll be 21
Amazing.
in strength. So which is great because the amount of growth that we have seen from December till now is tremendous. And people who say, does it work? Yes, it works. It works. It it works in every sense. You just need to be smart enough the way you're running the business or where you're spending, and that's it. I mean, I don't want to give a hospitality financial gyan here, but it works. It works in every sense. So yeah, people
Cool.
who are thinking about this, please do it, because we need more people doing things, doing crazy things, but which has a lot of meaning and purpose, of course. But yeah, we need these kind of restaurants. We have so many examples in Europe. You go to Spain, you have 10 examples. You go to America, you have 10
Yeah.
examples. But we need more examples here in India. And that's when we all sort of grow. And this is a right time. There hasn't been the perfect time in Indian F&B industry than this. This is that Renaissance period, which I feel what happened in Spain in 80s, 90s, early 2000, and what happened in Scandinavia in early 2000. It is exactly happening here. So that's why I say like we need more people taking bolder risks, much bigger risks.
Absolutely. Could you tell me? I know you don't want to give a whole lecture on hospitality, but could you tell me just maybe give me a couple of examples of how you are being smart about your expenses, how you're trying to make the most of the limited resources that you have.
I think the biggest was how we build the restaurant. And I think people put a lot of energy and effort, which is great in cities, because they would be like, yo, I need like the best, person to design this, or I need the best zoomer. A lot of things like, all this thing. I think for us, one thing which we sort of collectively were, talking about was that, outside is so important than inside. Right. And I think and then I think the inspiration came from what Bijoy did in Amaya and what the village architecture was. And I think we put that together and build this beautiful home, but also like, costs related to, I think I would spend a lot in human resources, and that's where our biggest spend is, be it where people are staying, what they're eating. I mean, we bought fridges for everybody, like, or washing machines, or because I feel like that is important, because you need to be comfortable in order to give you 100%. So all that is taken care of, and that's why the biggest spending is human resources. And we're lucky enough that we have a farm attached to Amaya, right? The Amaya farm is there. We're lucky enough to work with a lot of producers here, because the peach that I'll be buying at 50 rupees in Bombay, you'll be buying at 300 rupees. It's a simple math. We are a 16 cover restaurant. We can control things, right? It's a smaller restaurant. Understand that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, so different heads where you can be just like smart enough to save and spend. It is not about saving money. It is about saving that money and spending that money where it's really required.
Fair enough. Okay. So, Prateek, if we can shift gears a little bit, collaborations with local farmers and artisans, you were just talking about that, are sort of central
Yeah.
to Nar's sourcing philosophy. Could you tell me a little bit about how these partnerships are shaping the identity of the restaurant?
Yeah. For a year and a half when I was building the restaurant, I think I was extensively traveling in Himachal. And the reason of travel was to really build those relationships with a lot of people. I think I met in along the way. Realized a lot of people have moved from cities to here just to either build their dream or move away and do something meaningful. And through those connections, I've met someone who grows the best cherries in India apparently, but it all goes
Wow.
somewhere in Europe. Yeah, he sends it to Delhi, and then it goes away. Likewise, like and the way connections work, especially everywhere, but especially in mountains is key. You will know Pratapji will connect you to 10 other people who are doing some amazing work. That's how it works, and that's how the we have built the network. Like we have a network where there's a guy who just raises pigs, like three. We're a small restaurant, we can easily, and it's not ki he will sell, it's like ki aap le jao pura.
Wow.
So when we're also talking about costs as well, like we don't a lot of times we just don't buy specific cuts. We figure out an animal and then figure ki acha kya karna hai, because that's how the selling works here, right? Morels, in upper reaches of Himachal, like we have this lady, Binduji, who will give us at least 2 to 3 kilos of morels for the season at
Wow.
1/5 of the rate that I will buy in any city,
Anywhere else?
right? So through those, like the networks have really worked. So apart from the Amaya farm, which is very central, like there are 8 people working there, growing everything. We like in 15 days, we'll have 200 kilos of onions and 300 kilos of garlic. So that will suffice between
Wow.
both the Maya and us. But beyond that, we have a really good network of fruit farmers. We have a network of dairy. We collaborate with this dairy called Himalayan Creamery. It is not because I use it. It is one of the best dairy products that I have used. It's 3 hours away from here. We collaborate with someone who's making some incredible cheese up in Mashobra, which is 2 hours from there. Right. So my dairy is sorted, vegetables are sorted within like whatever we're buying, and the fruits are sorted. So, and this is shaping the Naar philosophy. It is shaping the menus, and it is shaping the way we are now thinking about a lot of things. Right? We're saying trying to celebrate Himalayas, and through these ingredients, we're trying to celebrate that.
Fair enough. Okay, so Naar has been running for some time. There are a lot of chefs who are looking at Naar and thinking, "Wow, okay, maybe should I consider this? Should I start thinking about this?
Yes, please.
Is this something that I can do?" What is the advice that you would give to some of them who are looking at you as an example and contemplating if they should?
One thing which I really thought, this was last year when we were building, that obviously every chef has dreams of how, and when how they want to run the restaurant, or
Yeah.
how they want the restaurant to be when they open. Number one, I think that sense of failure was always there within me, but I think overcome that sense of failure, because, and I was ready, and I said, initial conversation when we had, I told my partners, are we ready to lose this money? Yes. Okay, great. We can afford this money, or we're happy to lose the money, but we want to build something which is very sort of meaningful to us. So that sense of failure, I think, is important, because you should know what it entails, but also like sometimes you should overcome that sense of failure and jump. That jumping when you know it's the scariest is very important.
Yeah.
So jump it. It's very important, because not to sound this, but a lot of restaurants, or take an example of any great restaurants, maybe in Spain, couple of them, when they opened, honestly, every great restaurant at one point of time was just a risk that the person took. And it goes to a lot of other businesses as well, not just restaurants. So take that plunge, take that risk sometimes. Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes you'll fail, but that's okay. At least you will never regret that there was an opportunity, but you never took it. Yeah. For me, it was very easy to build a restaurant in Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, any city. And I know like we would have done fairly well, or, would have, be comfortable. But this was altogether something which I was like, I have my knees right now. I have my back intact. I can take some risk. I won't be on the road. That's fine. I knew that. And that's it. And those three things were very important, that physically I'm able to walk, because there's a certain amount of, obviously you have to walk in mountains. I can do that. I can take some kind of a financial risk. I won't be on the road. I can jump this right now and jump it. Just don't overthink it. And yeah, and honestly, while I'm talking about risks, but also be very, very, very clear that what are you trying to do,
Yeah.
and in terms of your concept, in terms, the clarity should be there. You're taking a risk. While I knew that obviously this was a risk, I was 100% sure that what I'm trying to build. That was very clear in my mind. I was very clear on that from day one. This is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm trying to build. This is what the food, this will be my food, and this will be sort of the concept, and period. And I from day one, that never changed. Maybe my designs have changed, but the concept and what I'm trying to do, that never changed from day one. And we're still doing that, period. And we'll continue to do that as well. So that clarity of mind and thought is very important before you even jump the gun. But jump it. Just don't think too much.
That's very good advice. Highly recommend jumping myself. Uh, Prateek, what is the
You jumped.
legacy? I jumped. I jumped about a year ago when I left a very safe job. But yeah, it's taken me to different places. So highly recommend jumping.
Go. There you go.
But tell me, Prateek, you're building Naar. You're building this incredible culinary legacy. Um, what is it that you're hoping to leave through your work at Naar, and what do you hope it sort of contributes to the future of Indian cuisine?
I think two things. And one, the first one is, I think it's happening, and I'm very proud of it, that, changing the perception slash global narrative about you use two words, Indian cuisine, right? So what does it really mean? Or what does it entail? How do you even define that? And I think those definitions are changing slowly. We have moved on from a different conversation about Indian food to a very different conversation now, which people who write about food write about those things globally and in even domestically as well. So one thing which is that the legacy that I would really want to leave is that to change the perception of what really people think about India and Indian food, that needs to be changed. And second thing, especially with Naar, I want it to be a restaurant. Forget about financials or anything. I wanted that restaurant which really sort of changed a narrative about Indian restaurants, that this can be done. I can't predict future. Maybe we'll shut the restaurant, or maybe this will go for the next 50 years. I don't know, honestly. But at this point of time, if you ask me the legacy, like, this should be the restaurant which really changed the thought process that this can work and this can be done and this can be successful in many ways. Yeah, these two things, and that's it. And yeah, you can take risk and be successful sometimes, but yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Super. Thank you for that. That was very honest and generous. So I really appreciate it. We're going to move to the rapid fire section of our chat. Are you ready?
Yeah, I mean, is there a hamper waiting of this?
Of course, yeah. It's sponsored by Naar, so you can pick it up. Just take a walk up the mountain. You can pick it up. But basically, it's a word association game. So I say word, and you tell me the first thing that pops into your head. Yeah.
Wow.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Super. Your first word is Naar.
Bold.
Okay. Modern Indian cuisine.
Confusion. Yeah.
Okay. The strangest dish you've ever created in your career.
Strangest was with silkworms,
Wow, where was this?
because maybe I didn't know how to sort of use them properly.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
it was strange.
Nice. One pet peeve that you have during service, like if you see this happening, it really irritates you.
The one thing which is really irritating is when you see, because we can see the dining room from the kitchen. It's very small. It's an open kitchen, and when you see the chairs not aligned properly, like you can look at it and it should be like one straight line. So that's very annoying.
Okay. Something that guests do that irritates you.
Yeah, they keep, like, because we do 15 courses, I think they get up like 10 times. Either to smoke a cigarette, mostly to smoke cigarettes.
Right. Fair enough.
And control that, yeah.
Okay. Name a chef you admire in India.
Many. Refregi, Manish, Hussain. Yeah.
Okay.
All professional chefs, I mean.
Yes, of course. And one piece of advice you wish someone told you before you were starting.
Get a crash course on accounting and law. I think I spent most of my time with accountants, CAs, and lawyers. So that would have been helpful, but I think I'm still learning.
Fair enough. This seems to be a recurring theme. I've spoken to a bunch of chefs and bartenders and bar owners. Said get an accountant, get a lawyer.
They are your best friends.
Awesome. Super. Thank you so much, Prateek. This has been a really fun chat and a really honest conversation. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for making the time. Thank you. I'll see you soon.
And looking forward to see you all at Naar.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Like, share, and subscribe to the Big Food Energy podcast for more inspirational and important stories from the world of food.